I want to start today with a story that several of you sent me about a black Democratic leader who was threatened with lynching for criticizing the former president, Donald Trump. Let's go right to the New York Times article. Iowa Democratic Chair says he received lynching threat after criticizing Trump. Ross Wilburn, the first black person to lead Iowa's Democratic Party, said he received several racist messages after writing a column in the Des Moines Register. Iowa's Democratic Party chair said on Tuesday he received a lynching threat and several other racist phone and email messages after he wrote a column in the state's largest newspaper denouncing former President Donald Trump and Republicans. The party chairman, Ross Wilburn, the first black person to lead the Democratic Party in Iowa, the presidential proving ground, said that he turned the messages over to the police in Ames, Iowa, and planned to press charges if the people who sent the messages were identified. Speaking to reporters over Zoom, Mr. Wilburn, a state representative from Ames, said that the threatening messages were in response to an October 8th opinion article that he wrote in the Des Moines Register titled "Iowa Republicans Put Loyalty to Trump Over Helping Iowans." The column's publication preceded Trump's rally in Iowa, his first visit since losing in 2020 and since the January 6th insurrection. Wilburn said Tuesday, "At some point, we have to say enough is enough. We can't control thoughts that people filled with hate have. But when you speak out, when you choose to act in certain ways, that's when it's not okay." On October 8th, Wilburn said he received a voicemail from a restricted number ending with a threat that included a reference to lynching. Over the next 2 days, he said racial slurs were repeatedly directed at him in another voicemail and an email sent to his legislative account. Commander Jason Tuttle of Ames Police Department said in an email that Wilburn filed a police report and police were investigating. You know, one of the things here, there's so many layers to the speech rights that the right likes to claim. It's not shocking that the pro-Trump people, when they got angry with a black guy for criticizing Trump, they said racist things to him. That's not a shock. That's kind of like blasé in a sense, sadly, but it is at this point. We've become very, very used to it. You know, they really have this confounding, convoluted understanding of speech. When it comes to, as we talked about yesterday, the right being angry that stories they want to see in the mainstream don't get enough attention because they're dumb stories. They say that it's suppression of speech. Now, of course, media outlets and people can choose. I want to talk about this or I don't want to talk about that. It's not necessarily an indication of suppression of speech or censorship or self-censorship. Some stories are just kind of dumb. Then when there are consequences to their speech, they say, well, that's a restriction of my freedom of speech. No, you were allowed to speak and say what you wanted about the election results or about lab leak or Hunter Biden or whatever. But also there are reactions to your speech by people who themselves have the right to speak as well. But they don't like that. That's not good. But then here, instead of this just being a reaction, a consequence to the speech of Mr. Wilburn, they actually go over the line because threatening people with a lynching or with a personal injury or calling them and leaving repeated racial slurs, those may be the consequences to Wilburn's speech, but that goes beyond into criminality because those are now threats and it's harassment. So like on every level on this speech thing, enforcing terms of service is not a First Amendment violation. It's not even the government. It's a private company enforcing their terms of service. Reaction to the thing I said. Well, now my speech is being suppressed by that speech. No, it's just the consequence of your speech. And as long as it's not illegal, threatening, or otherwise against the law, it's just something you have to deal with. When you speak, people might react to that. Okay, well, then I'm going to react to what Wilburn said by threatening with a lynching. No, that actually is a crime at this point in time. It's a continued and persistent misunderstanding of every aspect of what free speech, censorship, and the ability to say what you want to say and media outlets to cover what they want to cover. They misunderstand all of it at every single level. Obviously, in the case of Mr. Wilburn, let's hope they actually find the people who made those horrible racist threats. One of our sponsors today is Blue Chew, a unique online service delivering the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. And they're giving my audience an entire month's supply for free. So if you think you could benefit from an extra boost of confidence when it's time, all you have to do is take a short quiz on their website. A licensed doctor approves your prescription. The medication comes straight to your home within days in a discreet package. No driving around to the doctor's office or the pharmacy. No waiting around. No awkward conversations with your doctor. All of Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. The entire process is just a few clicks. Go to bluechew.com. The link is underneath this video. They'll give you an entire month's supply for free when you use the promo code PACMAN. All you have to do is pay $5 shipping.